Hi, Marika.
Hi.
So much for joining me today on Inside the Industry. I am so eternally grateful to have you. You are a phenomenal artist and you do so many things. I've been following your work for quite some time. So I'm really stoked to have you. But even more importantly, why I brought you on today is your annual posts that I think everyone seeks and looks for and, I know I gain a lot of just respect for you for posting it, but also it really helps soothe my own anxieties as a makeup artist working in the business. So as people know, hopefully they do, you do an annual post of unfiltered but professional MUA makeup. So
Yes.
I want to kind of talk about why did you start posting it? Why did you feel compelled to post it? And where did that whole idea to post it even come about?
Yeah, I've been doing makeup for like 10 years. So I don't come from the older generation, but not the new generation. So I'm like kind of in between.
Yeah.
I grew up with social medias, but more like MySpace and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the same team. But I didn't have like a retouching app on my phone like people have now. So
Yes.
I feel like it's like a second nature to them to be very strong with retouching pictures. Back in the days, if I wanted to retouch my makeup, I needed to know Photoshop to blur the
Right.
skin and everything. So I feel like my generation and the older generation, we were like feeling kind of insecure with all the things we saw on social medias. And I talked a lot with makeup artists that said like they kind of they wanted to quit because
Oh,
they felt like so much pressure and they didn't understand why their work didn't look like that polished.
right.
So yeah, and there's the clients too that add a lot of pressure to that because they seek unrealistic goals. So we want to make them happy, but we don't know how. So yeah, that's why I wanted to tell people like you need to see it with your own eyes because we don't realize that everything we see is filtered. So if you see the before work,
Right.
because we see behind the scenes that are not supposed to be retouched but are.
Right.
So yeah,
It's
I really
just dealing with reality, I feel like, right? It's like,
fun anymore to some people.
oh yeah, no. And I can bet. I mean, I can only imagine, like you said, growing up now, if I became a makeup artist today,
Yeah.
I would be a little steered myself because I'm like, oh shit, like this, it is a lot of pressure. And
Mhm.
not only to have a presence on social media, but then like you had said, I mean, you have to keep up, there's certain trends, there's a certain aesthetic,
Mhm.
unfortunately, that is super unrealistic, but it's still there, whether it be with our clients or other artists and just imagery we see on social media. It's really hard to break that when you're absorbing it daily. So anytime you've posted it, I've been like, oh, thank God, I'm so excited to see that today and just let it, take a breath of fresh air, at least for the day. So I love that you do it. And I think, I mean, for younger women today, especially just girls, even just women that aren't makeup artists and men alike, it's just such a profound statement to remember that that's not real.
And just the fact that makeup is supposed to be fun, it's not that serious, and people are like ruining their lives about it. So I wanted to address that so it becomes like something fun again.
Exactly. I know more than half the reason why. I mean, you speak about generational makeup artists. It's like I got into it because I loved it and it
Yeah.
was fun and we got to create and be silly. And then I do agree, it kind of took a turn. And even myself, I've had days where I was like, oh, just the environment wasn't as fueling creativity anymore. It was a little bit more competition-y and just like you had to have a certain standard to be like in. So
Mhm.
that was unfortunate. Have you ever felt that?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a pain. She's like, yeah, I don't love that. Like, no, no, no. Whenever I guess you feel like you go down that route of questioning your own artistry and feeling on those days, is there anything you do in particular to kind of boost your self-esteem back up and remember yourself? Like, no, I'm worthy. I am a good makeup artist. What do you do to get out of that funk?
Well, I always say like to my students and to other makeup artists, don't compare yourself because it kills creativity. But
Yes.
and that's why maybe I do this post every year,
Yeah.
looking at unretouched work, maybe
Yes.
not on a creative way, just to see technically like how your work looks like just beside someone else's.
Totally.
You just like realize it's not reality, and we're not used to seeing raw makeup anymore. So doing
Right.
once upon a time, you can just like realize you're not so different from other people, and that you're human too. uh,
Yeah.
Most people have poor showings. I mean, some models have
Oh my
perfect.
God.
It happens. It happens, but it's not the norm.
Right.
We know it because we touch a lot of people's faces. But just to remind yourself that people have pores, and I
Yeah.
dark circles and everything, it just gives you a little kick in the butt.
Yeah.
This all started with like my first fashion week show I did. I was 25. It was 5 years ago. I got on Team Pat McGrath in New York, so that was my first
Woo!
fashion week show.
Yeah.
And I was like dying of stress. Like I vomited backstage because I was like too nervous of being there, because I was afraid I was not being good enough.
Mhm. Yep.
For the first time in my life, I saw those runways makeup like from up close, like not on TV,
Yes.
not on the internet, and I felt so much relief,
Yeah.
because I thought I was with the greatest artist in the world, and I was.
Yeah.
The fact that I could see skin texture and the flaws and all the things that I don't really like about my work, that I questioned myself about, and I saw that it was going down on a runway. uh,
Yes.
it made me feel so good about myself.
See,
And
and it's so powerful. Like
yeah,
to see that and identify with that. I mean, representation is huge for so many reasons. And like you said, telling your students, and that kind of answers my next question, which is incredible. The best advice to give people coming up now is go look at unfiltered work, go look at untouched stuff, and also immerse yourself in these rooms when you get the chance, like you're saying for Pat McGrath. But when you're there, recognize and see the makeups like don't cloud yourself with thinking, we play that imposter game all the time. I know I do it, where you're like, am I even good enough to be in this room? And you're like, yes, because you're there, so you are. But just seeing around you, like, okay, you know what, like, not comparing, but seeing like, look, that's a real makeup.
yeah,
It lives and breathes, it moves, like you said, there are pores. And it's like we have to kind of reprogram ourselves, I feel like, to start saying that, and that's more the norm, to help break down those comparisons and seeing this like super filtered and completely flawless, no creases, high shine. They're beautiful, don't
yeah,
get me wrong, they're beautiful and inspiring, but I think just to weave in some more real really will help artists not only in their confidence in moments of really amazing opportunities in their life, but just on their day to day too. Like, I mean, I'm breaking out. I don't know about you, masks, wearing all the masks in quarantine.
it's the worst.
I have never. I was like, stop it. Like, stop all these things that might, it's rubbing. So I'm like, great, cool. But I was like, no, it's fine.
At
Like,
least you have the mask to hide what the mask does to your skin.
I know it's like a round problem. So I keep wearing it and it's causing more issues. It's a mess. I understand, but Lord have mercy. I mean, I also want to kind of talk about what is your favorite part about being a makeup artist? I love that you're so authentic and real with what you do and what you put out there.
Yeah.
Um, and your work is also just incredible. Like incredible. I know when I seek inspiration, I'll pop on your page and I'm like, what is she doing? What has she created that, I can gain some inspo from? But what is your favorite part about being a makeup artist?
And I think it's always about creativity.
Yeah.
So I do some clients once in a while, but I'm happy when they're happy, but that's not my thing too much.
Mhm.
I'm artistic, editorial, and this is the thing that I want to do, and it's the wow effect, that comes with the emotion when your team gets the model ready and she's all dressed up and their hair is done and the light hits her and everyone is like, wow. That's like the thing I love the most. So
Oh,
it's very theatrical. I think the way I see makeup,
yes.
my demos, that's how I approach it too. It's really emotional, so I want to create an emotion, a story. That's what I love the most.
Do you see that people do that often? Do you feel like people are missing the stories when they're creating? Is it more just like trend and trend and trend versus actually having a whole story behind it and a reason why?
Yeah, I think people are aware that they're not like able to do it.
Yeah,
That's the question I get asked the most. How do you come up with the
right.
story? How do you come up with the characters and stuff like that? So that's what I teach when I do master classes, how
Yeah.
to have this the creativity process, you know,
Yes.
behind all this, because people struggle because they're not confident,
Yeah.
again, because of social medias. They
Yeah.
feel pressure, and when you don't feel good about what you do, how can you be creative, you know?
Right. No, and there's so many ways to fuel it. Is there anything that specifically inspires you when you're getting creative? Like, is there anything you do to really kind of hone in on your creativeness?
Well, it's a lot with the energy of the team, you know, because I surround myself with artists that I'm comfortable with. So
Absolutely.
beginning, if I'm comfortable, I'm more open.
Mhm.
um, the model sure helps, and I like to give myself like little challenges, like I bring a little kit, or I'll just bring one color, or you know, you have to give
That's
yourself
fun.
little
That's
challenges,
cool.
because if you're always doing like the same thing, you cannot evolve with your creativity. So yeah, I give myself challenges a lot of the time.
That's a really good tip because I've never done that. I don't know if I'm ballsy like that yet to just show up with just one specific product and be like, "Go, girl." I'd be like, "Oh shit,"
On
panic.
creative shoots, you know, on tests, not on a job.
Yeah, she's like, "Rachel, not on the paid gig, girl. Don't do that." No, I hear you. Shoot. I guess when you're feeling uninspired, we kind of touched on that a little bit, but is there anything you do to re-inspire yourself when you're in a complete rut? Let's say you are in a job and you don't have the energy that's flowing, or maybe you don't have a team that you maybe got paired with that day that is completely aligned with you. I know we can't always meticulously get, the perfect environment we need always to flourish our creativity. What do you do when you feel like, okay, I'm stuck, but I have to perform?
Well, I think it comes with the experience a little bit.
Totally.
Sometimes you just become, you start to work on autopilot,
Yeah.
and it adds to happen sometimes. I mean, but I think the more I'm comfortable with my craft, the more it's like instinctive. So I'm not sure what to answer to you, but
No, that's good.
now it just happens because I trust myself. I think
Yes.
it's a question of trusting yourself a lot.
No, that's good, honestly, because I feel like that's a big thing where people, it's almost like the overthinking process, right? It's
Mhm.
like we think too much, we get too overwhelmed with like, I'm not being creative, I'm not being creative. So we try to force it versus just almost letting it be whatever it's going to be that day,
Yeah.
letting yourself create wherever way it might go. Maybe it's not going to be your favorite makeup that
Hmm.
you do. You might not walk away being like, that was my proudest moment, but you
Yeah.
still performed, you still created something that has value and that maybe steers you in a new direction later to create
Yeah.
even
And
more.
sometimes you just need to take a step back, you know.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm working and I'm like, something happens that I didn't want to happen. I'm like, oh no, this is ugly, but I'm like, don't show it. And
I
I'm
know.
like, I have to remind myself, you're a good makeup artist. You know you're going to make it work. So, you know, because when you panic and it shows, the model doesn't like it, and like you know that she doesn't like it, and
Yeah.
everything goes
Like
to
a snowball.
yeah.
Because then exactly. And I agree. It's the same thing with kind of having like a good attitude on set. Even if I'm anxious about the day, or maybe I had a bad day in the morning before coming to set, the most I can do to kind of like shake that off before stepping on, because it really does. I love that you mentioned energy, because I feel like that's such a big thing. And some people aren't into it. They're like, energy, schmatter. Like they're not really. But I'm like,
Just
no,
be into it.
yeah, get into it. Because it matters so much, and it really does. I know exactly what you're saying when you're saying energy is right and I can do my best work when I'm around trusted souls that let me just play. And I know no matter what I do, they're going to be like, I love it, that's creative. They'll steer me when I'm going off the handle, being like, that's not that good, Rachel, and I got to reel it in a little bit. But it's good to have people around you that are trusted, so, and that you feel give you good energy, and then automatically you can give it back. It's not that much work.
And I feel like that's the issue most of the time. People, the artists don't trust themselves. When I
Yeah.
give classes, I see it. They're like, I have creativity in my head, but I don't know how to apply it. And I'm
Mm.
like, okay, but just like, it's the first stroke of your brush that it's like the most frightening. They're like, I want to do something. And I'm like, I take their brush and I'm like, then, and
Do it.
do it. And oh, okay, and then they can go, but they're just so stuck in like, it might not be beautiful, it's gonna be ugly, that it's really really hard for people. So
Yeah.
yeah, we all need to take a step back from social
You don't
media.
need to take a
Mhm.
I fully agree. Especially if you're having a rough week, it almost adds fuel to the fire Really have it be one of the first things you X off when you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed. It's not going to be a place for refuge that's going to fuel good
Yeah.
energy. It's really just going to suck more out of you. So take the time, recenter yourself, get back on the web. And social media will always be there. Say it's going nowhere. You're not missing anything. So you can step back for a second. I'm serious. And like another question, I guess, is makeup. I talked to some people about this because, like you had said, you've had people tell you, I don't really want to do this anymore, or I'm getting, deterred from wanting to be a makeup artist. And I've heard it a lot in quarantine just because many of us are without work and it's slowing down. And a lot of us are taking a moment to realize, what do I actually want to do? So some people don't want to anymore, but is makeup career for you? Is that just life for you? That will be, I'm 70 years old. I got to makeup on my back. I'm going to the job. Is that your life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yes, no, yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that I will.
Yeah.
I want to start doing photography too,
Incredible.
and retouching because I enjoy it very much.
Yeah.
Before wanting to become a makeup artist, I wanted to be a fashion photographer.
Ooh.
So, but I'm afraid of my camera very much. So, but I'm working on it right now. She's sitting right there with taking all the dust, but I'm gonna work on it.
Yeah.
And yes, I discovered that I love teaching a lot.
Okay.
But it
Incredible.
all goes together, it's always circling around makeup. So yeah,
Right.
I want to be more open to other things, but it's always in the artistic field.
Yeah, I feel that. I've had those moments where I'm like, okay, do I want, and then I think, okay, but if I didn't do it, what the hell would I do? I would just not, like you said, yeah, we have other passions, but it's looped still within the industry. It's still there. It still connects us somehow to touching it. Maybe I'm not toting around makeup. You might not be running around on clients, but education is a forever thing and an incredible tool to
Yeah,
pass on all your knowledge and creativity. So,
yeah, and I didn't think doing that in my life, but
yeah.
I've been asked to do my first master class like 3 years ago in France. So I was like, oh, I don't know how to do that, and I
Right.
was very, very nervous. But it went surprisingly well,
I
and
bet. Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing my students getting out of the mold, and after they wrote to me saying thank you, and I was like, okay, I can help people. And I didn't think, like, for me, makeup, it was like not insignificant, but just I'm painting faces. So sometimes I was like, yeah, I try this. I was like, does it mean anything? And just the fact that I do makeup now,
Yeah.
and that I can teach people uh, how to be a better makeup artist.
Yeah.
Like, it's like what I do means something.
Yes, you're adding value. I recognize that that's so hard. And I think that is half the reason why I have had moments of doubt with it, is because I'm like, what am I contributing? Yes, some incredible images. Yes, some really great inspiration. But what is the depth of what I'm doing and how am I actually giving back in like a deeper sense?
Yeah.
And so education is a huge, I'm not an educator.
Mhm.
Very much not my path, but I love that you are, because the educators of the world, I mean, my God, I think back to my teachers. I went to Makeup Forever Academy and I'm like, I am so grateful for them being so into teaching me and like really wanting to harness my skill and push me. If I didn't have them doing that, I
Mhm.
might not even be here today. So it really is such an impactful job. So kudos to you, because I know it's also a lot of work. I love that about you. I love that. Is there anything, I know, I mean, we've all been in quarantine. It's
Mhm.
been a minute. We're slowly on our hopefully way out in some sort of ways, getting back to some normal. Please, Lord, help us. But is
Yeah.
there anything, right? God, I can only do this for so long. But what's it called? Is there any music that's been getting you in the mood? I know when I'm having shaky days or if I'm just getting stir crazy, I will blast some Beyonce, because
Mhm.
her newest album, oh my God, The Gift, with her, her visual that she just did. Any song on there makes my day, like I'm just up and at it. Is there anything you've been like pumping to?
I'm a big 70s and 80s fan, so it's always like Queen, Elton John,
Yep.
Journey, like, yeah. But I listen to the same thing all the time, but I don't mind. I feel like I'm not born in the
Good.
good era.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, I listen to what my parents used to listen to.
Good. That's honestly, it's the better stuff, to be honest. I'm like a little, my millennial creeps out in that way where I'm like, oh, I love this rap song. But my mom's like, Rachel, like you have no idea how good music used to be. I was like, okay, I'll get it together. I'm bad. I need to get a better music taste. Most likely, my God. Well, I am so thankful for having you on. You gave us a lot of gems. I really appreciate you coming on and giving us your time this morning. I know you have a gig and you're working today, so I love that about you. You're at an atom, but thank you, Marika, for coming on and joining us. I appreciate it. We will keep up with you. Everyone follow her stuff below. I'm going to tag her. Keep up with her. Take her classes. Forever grateful for having you on, my dear.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. We'll see you later.